Okay, so just to see if I'm getting it. So you started this community project around helping young people have a forum to talk about sexuality.
Yeah.
You did a lot of workshops, cheap or free, and now you're starting to move into this one-on-one work. You're starting to get paid more, and that's going to be a way to sustain you. And yet there's this part of you, the activist part of you, that's just, how can you be charging this much? You know, maybe it should be accessible or free, and it's this sort of activist versus the entrepreneur part of you. Is that, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, raise your hand if you have that dynamic for yourself, this activist versus entrepreneur. Okay. So I don't know. This is just, I would say, first of all, it's a great question. This is a good question to just keep sitting with. I don't have the answer on this one, but it's just a good question. And you know, there's lots of processes you could do. One of the things I might recommend doing, I mean, you could just literally do this kind of as parts work, a little gestalt. Set one, you know, chair for this, one chair for that. One chair, this is for the artist or for the activist. This chair is for the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And just literally step back and forth and talk to yourself. Have those parts talk to each other. Or journal, you know, literally journal out a conversation between them. But from this spirit of, and you could even have a third chair for it's you, and you're the you know, facilitator, and where your job is to reflect. Am I hearing you? Is this? Can you hear this? What do you hear when I? And you can just engage that conversation yourself. You could do that if you have friends who are willing to play those roles, but just to see if you can find a way that those two things can live together. Because the reason I can't answer it is because it's different for all of you. The model that you find for this, again, that's part of your point of view. So there's no template here. There's just a lot of, there's no sort of massive answer to this. There's just a mass of answers. There's a lot of ways we can do it. Part of the concern I know often is, well, I want it to be accessible, but I want it to be sustainable for me. Accessible for them, but sustainable for me. And you know, I've talked about this in a lot of other videos and such, but consider possibilities. You could have some things pay what you can. My live workshops are all pay what you can, but the everything else I charge a flat fee for. Some people do it, their online products are pay what you can, and the rest are, you know, or sometimes it's the one-on-one. So you may have part of your work that still remains accessible. It might be that this project is accessible and you say, I still do some free workshops through this project, you know, in this way. You can also offer certain scholarships as a model, you know, where you just give certain spaces for free to the people and there may be people who are doing work you admire who could use your help, and you say, look, you're just on the house. Or we can work something out. You can have trade. A woman, Jan Blake, who's a Caribbean ancestry storyteller, she'll let people attend without paying money, but it's like, send me something that is worth the value of what's in this program. So she's had hand-tanned sheepskin sent to her. She's had a wood carver make this gorgeous story reel of one of her stories that she tells. So there's so much of this comes down to this. It's got to be win-win. Fair enough? Yeah. You have to win, and so do they. And the danger is we either collapse or we posture. On the collapsing side, it's very much, well, I lose, but you win. And this is the danger of where activism can go when it becomes a chronic, ill-considered thing. I lose, but the community wins. And what that leads to ultimately is resentment and bitterness. There's a time for it. I'm not discounting it. Thank God for martyrs who, you know, we have the rights that we have because of this. On the other side, you know, we can posture, well, no, I'm not going to give anything away for free. And this isn't also that satisfying because I win, but everybody loses. But it's a much harder thing to come up with the win-win. What's the win for me and what's the win for the community? What's the win for this activist part of me and the win for this entrepreneur? How can we find something that genuinely everybody's needs are going to be met? But one thing you said, I do want to speak to this thing of, well, but I deserve it, I'm worth it. I just want to eviscerate this whole languaging of charging what you're worth. I just couldn't disagree more strongly, but we've inherited this, so we use it all the time. What you charge has zero to do with what you're worth.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with it. These are not the same conversations at all. I mean, don't charge more than the work, I suppose, is worth on points of merit and quality and caliber. But it's because as soon as we start going down that road of I'm going to charge what I'm worth, well, how do you figure out what you're worth? What you are worth? You see the madness of it, because you actually have to start to do math. Because it's got to be, well, if I charge what I'm worth, and I guess I'm charging per hour for this kind of work that I do. So okay, first I got to figure out how many hours I'm going to be working. Okay, and then I have to divide that by how much I'm worth. So I got to put a number on what I'm worth. It's just crazy. The way, I have lots of videos on pricing, so I won't go on a whole pricing rant. But if you go on my YouTube, just search, there's a playlist on pricing. There's lots of thoughts there. But it's got to be win-win. It's okay for your needs to be met by your business. Mandatory if it's going to be sustainable. It's really okay. I mean, just whatever permission you're looking for, I hope you find it. Because so often people burn themselves out on their business, and it's this endless giving, but a kind of over-giving. And it's one of the reasons that people struggle in their business is because they don't make the business a priority. But why is it not a priority? Because giving to other people is a priority. Yeah, it's, well, I would have worked in my business, but my friend needed help with this, and this other friend needed help with this. And it's beautiful. But I'm just suggesting if it becomes chronic, this is a problem. And at one phase in our life, this may work, and another phase, it's not working anymore. So win-win. Win-win for all the parts of you, win-win for yourself and the community, and that's dynamic, and it's always changing. As long as it feels good to you, that's the main thing. That's what I would say. I don't know if that helps, but yeah. Okay, let's go check the time.